Let's see if this thing's working. It's slightly different than my usual streams, obviously. I'll wait for the stream to start, make sure I got some sound, and oh, here comes something. And there it went. What are we doing? Wait for the stream to start, make sure I got some sound. Alright. So, let me switch to chat. Let's begin. So, I'm Scruff Dog, and you're on board my cell phone. In case you missed last week's episode, Mavis is now flying with the fishes. There was an unusual incident. Don't know what happens, but nobody's ever seen an arm come flying off mid-flight unless there was some obvious cause. And she was 3,800 feet from me. I could hear the engines of the boats that were driving past her. A bug just landed. A little caterpillar. No impacts were registered in the flight log until the front propeller swiped across and hit the other one, so she wasn't shot. None of the boats changed directions, and I don't know. But an interesting update on that. I did some research, and howdy, gas masher. So I have the coordinates. The last coordinates from when she was 2.3 feet in the air. And at that section of the bay, it's actually only averages about 8 feet of depth. At the time that she went down, it was at low tide, but kind of like a higher low tide because of where the moon was. So it was most likely around 8 to 8.5 feet of water. And it was right in the center, or like the right in the nugget of low tide, so there wasn't much flow, so she most likely went straight down. And I know there's a lot of junk on the bottom, so if she hit bottom, she probably is not going to move much, because the area there's also not a lot of flow. So, this weekend, it's going to be an early one, but on Saturday morning, 9 o'clock my time, it's going to be super low tide. The moon's in the right place, and the water will likely be only 4 to 6 feet deep. So hopefully the sun will be just right and we can hang out, but that's going to be the next official live stream besides the maiden flight, which will be sometime this week. But we're going to go hunting for Mavis with Mavis Part 2, The Revenge, on Saturday morning. So it's going to be 9 a.m. Eastern Time. That'd be, 1 p.m. Universal. So, this of course is assuming that Mavis 2 shows up tomorrow, as tracking says she should. Even though I haven't seen anything move out of, since she left California, so I'm hoping that happens soon enough. So, I'm kind of curious to see if we can go find Mavis 1 with Mavis 2. Well, and I guess I'll throw in as far as if you didn't see the whole video, or you didn't, or if you missed the comments or the description, I sent the video and the flight log in to DJI that night. It was the holiday weekend, but they got back to me, and it is covered under warranty. No cost to me at all, and it didn't count towards my insurance purchase protection that I got, and they're transferring that over to the new drone as soon as I get it and register it on my account. That'll all transfer. So they saw whatever they saw. They feel it wasn't my fault. I don't know how it could have been my fault, so they covered it for free, which is cool. been a little boring, I'll tell you, since last time I flew was the 4th of July, and that was on a borrowed drone. But I gave that back. I'm not. I'm a bit of a risky flyer since I do most of my flying over water. So, thank you, Michael Thompson. Can I get on a boat or swim out to her? That is a possibility. I know a couple people with boats. I don't know where they are, like how difficult it is to get to that spot. But if I see Mavis OG, then I will likely mark the spot and either rent a kayak, because there's kayak rentals right in the area and people kayak in that area a lot. If I got somebody with a boat in the area, if I can find evidence of OG Mavis, I will try to retrieve her, because at that point I could send her back to the company. They can investigate, and I may be able to purchase a replacement or have a repair done, or just give it back to them and see if they can figure out what they can do with it. We'll see. I mean, I also talked to, there's submarine drones, but I'm not spending another $1,000 just to go looking around. Hey Mark, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Welcome to the non-flying stream. But besides finding Mavis, who knows? I'm not getting my hopes up, but stranger things have happened. Got my book. I'm keeping notes now. I don't know if you saw that in the thumb, because I always forget shit. Yeah, Sean, I'm hoping from what I found on the newer maps, more recent map, she may only be in 8 feet of water. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Besides that, while she's been away, I have been working on my search and rescue stuff. I can show you that. I did not get around to getting a tripod, so I'll just be leaning the phone all over the place to show you what's going on here. Let's see. You're now wedged in between a Gatorade bottle that is falling off and a chair. Oh, what do you want to pull up good? Hold on. This was working earlier, but then I got thirsty. Alright. So, won't she have gone with the wind and the currents? I'm thinking, from what I've seen with most drone accidents, that you tend to kind of mostly go down. And like I said, at the time, it was right in between, like right at dead center of low tide, so there wasn't much current. So as long as she made it down to the bottom, she may not have gone very far. So I figure, since I live in an area where it's marshy, there's lots of boat stuff, and they do have occasional needs. Like, you do hear about search and rescue problems, people getting lost, looking for boats. People getting lost in waters if there's a boat problem. I've decided to try and create a rig for Mavis that has lights that can help with search and rescue stuff. And I figure with the range extender, it's even better, because if it's far away, I can get a little bit farther, a little bit faster than, you might be able to get on foot. So I just decided to start creating something, and if I can get a good solid design, which I feel I might have, I'm going to share it for free, just for anybody else that wants to try and do this. With that said, I really should have gotten a tripod, because you'd be up there and much better view. So we're going to work with what we got, and I'll hit Walmart this week. $18 tripod with a phone clip on it too. So here's what I got for search and rescue. After a few different iterations, we now have this plastic piece that I have done. This is the front. Kind of think of this like as the body of the drone. Sits on the saddle. and the holes go around the battery buttons because you don't want that to, you know, obviously hit it in midair. Already had enough falling out of the air. But I put these loops on here so that I can run a bottom saddle or just a zip tie straight across to hold it down. And it fits on there pretty good. It fits pretty snugly. It locks in pretty good. So in this I have all these holes. You'll see this hole here is for the power button that's on the battery, since this clips over the battery. Then what I've got here is 3 cells that'll be wired for 12 volts. And I'm not going to put a BMS on it because it's a saved weight, so the cells will be like this, so they're hot swappable. They're just taped up so I don't blow anything up. So these will be sitting on there, and that'll still leave room to reach down to hit the power button. And switches and plugs will likely go into these utility areas. Are there any parts that a magnet would grab onto? Not, I don't know. I can find out once the new Mavis shows up. And Jim, yeah, no, they absolutely, drones don't like floating unless it's like a Swell Pro. They got their new Splash Master 4 that's getting ready to come out. It's a $2,500 drone that you can literally just crash into the water and it does not give two shits. It will fly back out. But it's $2,500. If I lived at the beach, maybe. So for these cells built in, I put this hole here is for running a zip tie across, and that ties into that one there. That may or may not change, but I figure that's going to be the easiest way, just for a quick securement. So that'll take care of the power that I'm going to need. Well, this power source. As far as the power supply, I found this little guy. I don't know if this is broadcasting backwards or not. I guess let me know in chat. But it is rated for 5 volts at 5 amps. Made this bracket for it. Remember, I said rated for. I'm hoping to get 3 amps out of it. This is designed on this back part. It'll bolt in. It'll get bolted and super glued. So it'll be kind of like a spoiler, so that the power supply itself can get lots of air. As far as the lights go, yeah, it's backward. Alright, well, it's not too important. Unless you wanted to look up that board. That number does punch in. It's XY3606. It's apparently a fairly common module, so I'm hoping I should be able to get at least 4 amps out of it. So on this, we're going to need lights. I've set that module to over 5 amps. It's fucking sweet. That means I may be able to put a headlight on here. That's what all this shit's for, on the front. If I have enough current, I know I have enough weight I can put a headlight on it for if I'm searching at night. When I'm looking down, I can see bright, and then I can look forward to make sure I'm not crashing into anything. But here's the lights. Some of you may recognize these if you've been watching Clive for a long time. You order them off of eBay, they're about $1.25 a piece, and they take about 2 or 3 months to show up. 3 watts, cool white bulb, fairly focused. Got these little boards. Wasn't trying to get overly creative. You should make a live vest for the drone. What's that box you made? And it has pool noodles. Oh, a life vest. Yeah, actually, I do have an STL to print out landing gear for foam pool noodles. Most likely that will be happening soon. But for the lights, I have these pods that I made. The but they'll slide into, get wired up so that when these hang down, they're at different angles. You can kind of see that to help spread the light. Now this is just a guess. One is 5 degrees, one's 15 degrees to the side, and one is 10 degrees forward, and then the other one's 25 degrees forward. And that's just, I just kind of guessed, and it'll be on both sides to help spread the light. And just because you can't print such a intricate piece all at once, I printed this guy to lock in, to hold, with clips and mounts to lock into this guy so that it snaps together and holds. And then I'll, you know, screw it and bolt it, and then Mavis would be here. So that'll hang down a few inches below her belly, which means I'll have to hand launch and hand catch, which I do pretty much all the time anyway. It'll be on both sides. And then assuming the power supply works as well as it should, and it sounds like it will, then I'll also have a headlight on the front, slightly canted down to give me a good view at 90 degrees straight ahead for night flying. And since I can just print these out, like I'll make this one, I'll put it all together, like the whole rig, just glue it, screw it, and leave it. And then if I have another project, I just print another one of these. Yeah, if I want just a headlight, I may print one of these with just a headlight on it. May print one of these with some ridiculous, you know, party lights, who knows. But now I have a good base for a power pack, and these modules are cheap. Like, I think this was $7 or $8 for 2 of these. Like, that's great. So I got all those pieces. So that's coming along. I'm hoping, you know, I finally got the last problem I had was this just kept breaking, so I finally put all these extra gussets in there, and now it's nice and strong. Like, this thing snaps in there. You've got the clips. Focus. You got the clips there that actually hold the board, and I printed it that way, standing up, so that this is all one piece, so it can flex and not snap at the layers, so it squeezes it tight. And then over here, I don't know if you'll be able to see, there's a little nub that goes into their optional, you know, power jack input. And then on this side, the optional USB output. There's just a little sliver in there to help lock it, and I'm just going to use just the wires. Prefer that lighter weight, easier to do, no added plastic and wiring and shit. I measured it, and so far I think I'm going to be able to come in at like 400 grams for weight. The drone is rated for 900, so if I can do 400 to maybe 450 grams setup, then it shouldn't affect battery life by maybe 20%, which means I may only be able to run around for 20 minutes, you know, helping people out while I got this rig on. Or say if I'm exploring, you know, a big ass abandoned power plant smokestack, this rig will also come in handy, or a modified version where the lights just point straight down. That way we can see what's all the way down there, because I keep coming up with like dropping a watch battery with an LED down there just to see what happens, but I'm not trying to like litter and drop shit, and that's no good. But I am coming up with some ideas on try to get something down in that stack besides the drone. I don't know that they would cover that one. So this is coming along. I'm hoping to have its first test flight, which is going to be rather boring. It's literally I'm going to pick a hot ass day, hook everything up, and just have it hover directly in the sun for the length of probably 2 batteries. So it'll probably be about an hour-long test just to see what melts, what doesn't work. Can it handle direct sun? Because you figure if it's not moving, I mean, with those propellers running, there's a lot of air moving around, but with no breeze, the sun's just going to beat down on it. I want to just beat the crap out of it before I fly it anywhere. Like, it'll literally just be hovering 4 feet, 5 feet in the air, and then I'll be able to walk up to it with a measure the temperatures on the belly, where the heat sink is for the aircraft itself. And I can measure the batteries and still be on top. I'm figuring I won't need any kind of heatsink or shading for the devices on top, because I made the board so that the sun hits the back most of the time to try and help the components on the front. And the batteries, they're light colored. I mean, if need be, I can do something quick and easy, add 5 grams to it to give them a little bit of a shade, but I don't think I'll need to. But that's just one of the things I want to monitor, because I'm not going to put a switch on it unless I really feel like I need to, because even if the batteries only last, say, 30 minutes, that's all they need to last, because that's all the main drone batteries are going to last anyway. So I'll just bring it back and I'll swap it out on every pack swap anyway. It's kind of like if you've ever worked in the stage industry, every time that show starts, beginning of the show, it doesn't matter if the last show was only 20 minutes long, you put a fresh battery in that microphone. Same thing with what the fuck this guy's doing. Same thing with this. I'll just switch batteries every time just to make sure everything's charged up. Let's see. Why don't you use fishing, bait boat, you could transfer realize. Oh, there's so much stuff that would be dredged up down there, Jim, if we tried to just drag. If I see it, that's another thing, because I do have a dropper. I do have a fishing dropper rig for a Mavis. It showed up, and 3 days later. And they actually make them, if you see the guys that like fly out and they just drop their lines, like they'll fly out over the waves from the shore. I have one of those. So that is always, a possibility that if I can see her, I could drop a weighted hook in there maybe. And if it looks like it ain't going to work out, I can just hit the button, let go, and fly away. Let's see, I'd recommend soldering. Yes, definitely. I'm going to solder, and I will likely be using XT connectors, something similar, something small. I mean, I'm only going to be pulling at most 4 amps, but something secure, because I don't need anything falling off. Right there. Attach a camera and lights, you can snag it. Back of the board, reflective heat, yeah. White heat shrink on each battery. Yeah, it's got light gray heat shrink on it now, which I'm sure helps. Yeah, and if you can see her, yeah, if I can see her, like, there are ways to almost walk out to those islands. Almost. It makes you think, but I don't think I would want to walk half a mile through that. But doesn't mean I can't take a kayak out there. Just jump out. Like, I don't care. Figure out something. We'll see what we can do. XT30s, yeah, that might be a good one. So, let's see. What else I got in here? Okay. Search for Mavis, search and rescue stuff. I was going to say I'd modify design if I need to, but Furbear says I probably shouldn't, so that's cool. Someone and a couple other people have been asking about starter drones. I think I said something a couple weeks ago. I think that was when Karen showed up. But the DJI Mini SE, the rumor was it was going to come out Thursday or Friday. Don't forget to yeah. It never did, so we're not really sure nobody really knows what's going on with that, but there is supposed to be a US release because I just updated my DJI Smart Controller and I saw the SE in it. So, pretty sure I saw the SE in it. Pretty sure that was just added. So, like, it's coming soon. It should only be $299. Should have, it looks like it's going to have 3 batteries with it, and should be a nice little drone. 2.7K, videos. I think it's a 12 megapixel, or no, 20 megapixel camera. No obstacle avoidance, just except for LiDAR and landing assistance. But Walmart has a listing, and supposedly that's where it's going to be carried in the US, and it's on their website. So if you're looking for a little starter drone, that's something to keep an eye on. That's one of those things you start saving up now, and maybe it won't take you that long before it comes out. It's a nice little drone. It's definitely a good starter drone, because anything else in that $299 area is not going to be like a DJI. All these, the mini SEs is just the DJI Mavic Mini that they just kind of took the old hardware, updated the shell, and decided to sell it cheaper so they could get into the cheap market, or the inexpensive market. So now, they already said I need to get a tripod to make you up there and not here, but at least you can see the trees. Oh, and if you look carefully, like all these little brown spots that you're seeing, like in the trees, those are all the spots that cicadas laid eggs into the little twigs of the trees. And I gotta tell you, I really do miss the cicadas. I thought they were cool. Like when I was out working with them, if they landed on me, I'd just stick them on my shoulder, and they usually hung out for a while. I don't know, I thought the cicadas were cool. But let me check something here. Okay, I'm not that far behind, am I? Huh, okay, only a few seconds behind. Now, with Mavis, the only thing that wasn't covered, which I wouldn't expect it to be, was my ND filter, which was a Freewell filter that I actually won from Ken Herron's live stream show he does on Thursdays. I actually won that. Won a set of ND filters, which, if you don't know what ND filters are, they're basically clip-on sunglasses for your camera, so that if it's too bright, you can tone it down, and then you can get a more rich and fuller color, and then you can use them to adjust your exposure, your frame rates when you're recording, to line it up better, to see if you want more of an action, motion-y blur thing, or you can really crank the frame rate up with a lower or no ND filter, and then you get that super, almost disorienting, crisp 4K that there's just no motion blur on, but when you hit pause, it's just literally just a series of photographs. So that's what those are. Really nice. I usually run with an ND8, like on there all the time, or an ND16, depending on the day. So that went down. That went down with Mavis. I ordered another one of those. If you look in the thumbnail, that's the little, I think they were up here, up in one of the corners, the little black, there was a set of 4 of them. That was those. So I got that back, and of course the stickers for her eyes and her lovely smile. But those are ordered again. Those were like $6. So, so where we left off in North Point, the day the Ranger stopped the flight. Once Mavis 2 shows up, we will be able to do a proper range test, because I'm sure that DJI is going to send me a US made drone, as they did last time, so that we will have proper dual mode and I won't have to fight for it and dick around. Then we can do a range test, and we can make sure that Mavis 2, the Revenge, can get out to at least 3 miles like the original Mavis could. And of course, we'll be doing it over water, because that's what I do. The incident with Mavis OG hasn't deterred me from wanting to fly over water at all. I know it was, I don't want to say a accident, but it was not something common at all. Like, no one has heard of an arm just flying off of a DJI without some obvious cause. So it does not deter me from knowing that DJI is the best drone manufacturer out there. And we're back. Hey, I just saw myself say, and we're back. Alright. It's 5G. You do the best you can. So yeah, it's not going to stop me from flying over water. As a matter of fact, I mean, we're going back to the scene of the crime Saturday, assuming that UPS comes through this week. So I don't know what else we got here. So yeah, we'll be able to do a range test proper with the weird antenna thing. I figured out just for this, like for any sit down sessions, a couple things I should bring now. I'm figuring this out. Yeah, I saw it stopped broadcasting, so I stopped talking. Luckily, we didn't lose everything. And the only other thing I had was, if you guys got any other questions, some of the common questions I get are different altitudes. Are the new batteries 2.2 or 3.4 amps? If you mean the drone, they're still 3,500 milliamps. If you mean those batteries for the... Hi. Batteries. If you mean the drone are 3,500 milliamp hour. The ones in the search and rescue are each measured at 3,300 milliamp hour, but I just call them 3,200 just to not get my expectations up. And various, that was 3,300 going to 2.8 volts, and then there's some will cut at 3 volts. Strap some styrofoam to it and it'll swim. Yeah, I'm probably going to print out the foamy landing legs in the next week or two, and then I go to the dollar store and buy a foamy. Of course, the storm that blew through yesterday, I could probably just look around. They're probably just laying all over the street because there's like trees down and shit all over the place. It was pretty wicked last night. There's a lot of lightning out here. A tree about 50 feet from my house got blown almost in half. I saw that when I drove down the alley. A bunch of branches around. Everything on my house looked pretty good, so one of my branches is bent on the tree in my yard, and my old 55-gallon steel, I don't know what happened. Like, I'm still getting 3 bars of 5G, but as long as it keeps letting it play, I'll keep trying. I guess I'll try to wrap it up. Maybe it's something trying to tell me to shut the fuck up. So I had this 55-gallon steel drum that I had welded a bottom into on the first ring off the ground, so it was 2/3 down, and it had rusted out around the bottom, and I knew it was about time. But then I go out this morning and that top 2/3 had actually just fallen off. So I'm probably just going to flip it over, maybe re-weld it and just use it again, because that's good for burning stuff. I guess either that or find another 55-gallon drum, because that was an awesome, just destroyed and chewed through scrap wood and junk and everything. Because I cut those like slotted turbo fins into them, saw it on YouTube, and that shit works. It is a vortex of fire coming out of that. Didn't I stream that or record that? I don't know. It might have been on Discord. Oh, and yeah, everybody, it's any your lagging you're seeing is me, not you. Alright, real quick. Next live stream is going to be Mavis 2, The Revenge. It's going to be her maiden flight. The only thing I'm going to do before we fly is update all the firmware, because I don't think we want to do an hour-long live stream of 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. But she will not leave the ground until we are live streaming. That'll be sometime in the week, assuming UPS does their job. And then Saturday morning, I'm probably going to start the stream at like 8:35 a.m. Eastern time, so 12:35 p.m. Universal. It's going to be an early one, but that's going to be, I want to be in there for that 9:05 low tide. Yeah, that's it. Before this thing cuts off again, thanks for stopping by. Alright, my ham too, I used to be N3WRD, but I let the license expire. Just never quite got to use it. But thanks for stopping by. Like, sub, bell. And I will let you know as soon as Mavis 2 shows up and we can get her off the ground. And we'll do a little stream for that. We'll go through functional tests, make sure everything, and maybe fly around, see where I'm at, yada yada, and then we'll hopefully maybe go find Mavis OG Saturday. Who knows? We'll at least have a look. And I'm going to need your help because you guys got bigger screens than I do. So someone's going to have to scream something, throw something through the YouTube and hit me in the head if you see her. So, alright. Thanks everybody. Have a groovy Sunday and have a good week. And I will talk to you all somewhere. Like, sub, bell, blah blah blah. And